All right, so here is our question. It is from Rodrigo A. What do you guys think of Dabo's rant? It seems like things are unraveling quite quickly. Can he put Clemson back on track? Chris, I'm going to let you start, but first, I want to just at least point out that we have had some great coaching rants this year. Like, there have been some really entertaining ones. I don't know why everyone is wound so tight this season. I think in individual circumstances, we could dive into that, but we've had coaches tee off on 80-year-old men. We've had them tee off on Tyler from Spartanburg. We've had a lot of different rants this season. So let's talk about Dabo's. It's not a great season, okay? Like they're already at 4 losses. That's the most they've had since the 2011 season. There's a lot of frustration. And this is now 2 weeks of Dabo basically saying, you guys aren't grateful for all the success that we've had, and you're not giving us a grace period for being down a little bit.
Yeah, the most interesting, insightful part that Dabo said there was people used to ask me basically what's different about Clemson. I'd say at Clemson there wasn't an expectation, there was an appreciation, and that now it's become an expectation. And it's important, by the way, to listen to that whole thing. The question is just as important as the answer. It was a very long question, rambling a bit. I'm kind of surprised they didn't cut him off, but it also got kind of personal. Like when you're quoting scripture to Dabo Swinney in trying to say he's overpaid, like he's going to take that personally. And I kind of don't blame him for that. Um, Nothing he said was wrong. Like he has taken Clemson to places it's never been before. And yes, I agree. Coaches should be allowed to have a down season. But at the same time, going back to the premise of the question, you're now paid 10 to 11 million dollars. Like the expectations change with that. You've gotten everything you've wanted. You've gotten the new facilities. You've got the highly paid assistant coaches, your own salary. If Clemson had followed up those championships without investing, without doing these things, then he could say, hey, we're still competing in different things. But when you're making 10 to 11 million dollars, it's never a good thing to say to a fan, hey, why don't you coach the team? So I don't think it's a great look, but it's also 100% Dabo. Like that's who he is. It's not fake as much as people get annoyed by it. So I respect him for being honest about it. I will say that.
I thought it was incredibly insightful. It was very honest. It got more and more heated as he went on. But he does want Clemson to still be treated like little old Clemson. Like he does want people to still think of him as an underdog who is succeeding in college football against all odds. And he's just not that anymore. You've won too much. You're too successful. And I think when you're not at the top, a lot of this comes across as making excuses or whining about people complaining about you not being at the top anymore. But all of this just comes to the same endpoint, which is that Dabo seems unwilling to adapt to where college football is today. The way that he ran his program when they were making it to CFPs every year, winning national championships, he wants to still do it that way. And he doesn't want to acknowledge that he's had staff turnover and some misses, and that other people use the portal and embrace NIL more and are more where the sport is in 2023. And he just wants to kind of be living 7 years ago still in all of these areas, right? Even in the way that his program is viewed as an underdog, as little Clemson. And it's just not where they are anymore. And so I think that's the tension that he is personally dealing with right now.
Right. And Clemson fans they're not just upset about being 4-4. They're upset about the issues that they're having are the things that people talked
Yes.
about 3 to 4 years ago that were coming and that he seemingly didn't adapt to. That this might have been, I don't know if preventable is the word, but that he brushed the concerns off and now the result is a 4-4 season. They're gonna be upset about it. And by the way, when Jeremy Pruitt was at Tennessee, other coaches, like they get a lot worse questions, than Dabo got there. People telling Jeremy Pruitt to go back to Alabama and all kinds of stuff. Like this is big time football. Like these are the expectations. Now you brought Clemson to this point. This doesn't take away from what he accomplished. It's just like, look, are we keeping up with the Joneses? Because this is the standard that you set. It's a compliment to Dabo that fans are upset that he's not living up to the expectations he created. But that's the world, and that's what happens again when you're making 10 or 11 million dollars.
Right. People are going to be less patient. And also this is kind of that just fundamental question of, is it harder to get to the mountaintop or is it harder to stay there? And a lot of coaches will tell you it's harder to stay there. It's harder to repeat. It's harder to get back there. once you break through. And that's the expectation that people have had for Clemson. They didn't think this was a flash in the pan. They thought that this is something that could survive different quarterbacks, different players, different coordinators, and that's why there's such a microscope on this program as well.